My name is Andres Osvaldo Garcia Gutierrez Morera, better known as Andy Garcia.
Okay, Andy. Where were you born?
In Vedado, Havana, at the hospital on L Street and Línea, Maternidad Obrera. Workers' hospital for the workers, even though in my family no one ever worked. They were all artisans, musicians. I was not supposed to have been born there with the poor.
It's interesting.
With the worst of the earth. That's what I was.
Later I will ask you, I've been to...
That's part of my Christian connection.
Okay. I've been to Havana, on the La Rampa.
La Rampa?
Yeah,
that's my neighborhood.
That's your neighborhood?
I live near there.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to walk there quite a bit, skate around and bicycle around. Then came the dangerous things like motorcycles.
Yeah.
I was in New York the night that I was at a party celebrating
New
Year's, and we all partied so much that everyone ended up in different parts of the house just dead. There was no one alive there. Everybody was sleeping and resting. So I was the person to get up, looking for a cup of coffee. So I walked to a nearby drugstore. In those days, they had the drugstore with a coffee. And I was in Baltimore. In fact, I was in Baltimore celebrating with these friends. And good enough, the newspaper, Cuba, they're landing in Miami, blah, 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 the end of it. So the next day, I waited until the 8th. And I took a plane back to Cuba, and I infiltrated the Cuban government. Because I was very angry that I could not inherit, not even my father's name or what it represented in the Cuban society of previously to the revolution. And that really got me very angry. And then I saw my friends trying to infiltrate in some other ways, such as creating a real estate company in the Atlantic building on 10th Street, on 23rd Street. Do you know Havana? Have you ever been there?
I've been to Havana, yes.
Vedado, you know Vedado? Near the cemetery. This neighborhood is near the cemetery.
Okay.
Colón, el cementerio de Colón. And that was part of the interest of my family in Cuba. So everything became property of the state, blah, blah, this and that. And the more angry I was getting. So I came back. My family told me to get out because I was helping people in my neighborhood that were being thought after to give them time in jail, and some of them to even, they could get shot for whatever sins they may have committed in previously to the revolution. So I started alerting many of these people. They were my friends, I grew up with them. So what a problem. My family says, get out of here, because sooner or later they're going to either you have to be complicated in somebody's murder, because that's what it was, murder. That's what they were committing all around me, murder. Thievery, assaulting people unnecessarily for whatever the reason. Any old lady screaming in the corner, and immediately they came like the roaches and forget about it. So this was to me a very terrible experience. So I listened to my family, and it was not easy, but I got out. I came back to New York and continued with my life of creating something worth a while. Invasion by pure accident, because it was not in my plans to participate in something that I knew was a failure.
How long in advance did you know it was a failure?
I knew it all along because I just came back from Cuba and I saw what was going on in there. It was too ebullient. It was too complacent for the masses, The masses were envious, angry, mistreated, just like they still are, because they're there by choice. You're there by choice. Nobody forces you to nothing. You can be to the top of whatever you want to be. That's America, And I feel very proud of being part of it, you see. and to guard it with the last of my breath. Yes, yes.
Yes.
I'm willing to go now to the Middle East. I think I can solve the whole situation. I have solutions. Yes, it may not be real. It may not be real. It may be a movie. It may be all. Che Guevara may still be alive under a different name and protected by the program against inhumanity or whatever, any one of those programs. For all I know.
So even though you knew the Bay of Pigs would be a failure, you still became part of it.
Well, I tell you, adventure at that time, as it is now, has always, and to go against the odds is something that I rather participate than to take advantage of an easygoing situation. Maybe that's why I'm not multi-billionaire right now. Yeah.
So what happened to you? You went to Guatemala and then north to Cuba?
We went to Guatemala, and there we got trained in different things.
Who led your training?
Who? What?
Who was in charge of your training?
Oh, that's very difficult to answer for me, because I'm by nature against the law. Okay? I like to apply the law, but I am against it. You see? And that presents the situation that I was very much on my own. Wherever I was my own boss. The person directly in charge of my group, my 7, 8 guys we were at the time with the battalion of 1, the paratroopers. After the first day in training, he said, anyone that can do more pull-ups than I can doesn't have to come with the group tomorrow. And immediately I said to myself, this is my opportunity here with this guy. So he went and he does, I don't know, 15, whatever. So I go with one arm and I do 16, and I'm still ready to do 16 more. So he hated me from then on.
Yeah.
He gave me the worst assignments. You know what he told me? My corporal, he said to me, it's a good thing that we lost. Because if we would have won, I would have shot you personally. Yeah. Because I never did a thing that he ever transmitted to me. Now we're friends. You know, because then he became a rebel. He came on my way after he realized where I was coming from. And we were part of the group of extreme nationalists that decided that Kennedy was not our friend. So therefore we would not attend whatever went on at the stadium here.
So you did not go to the Orange Bowl? No, we did not go to the Orange Bowl. Then later on I met the Kennedys on a closer basis, and I realized that they were really, really good people. They were very naive. They didn't have an ounce of malice in their soul, and that's what was their destiny. It's terrible, you know. There are suggestions that maybe the anti-Castro Cuban community may have had something to do with Kennedy's assassination.
It's possible. It is possible, because a lot of discontent was expressed during that time because of the naiveness of the people that were running the show, including the politicians of the front. All of them were very naive to think for a moment that such an act of illegality, how could they be against a dictatorship and then trying to install because this is a dictatorship, so we're going to go and do the same. What is this? What do you know? You don't look at the tomorrow. I mean, what is this? You are so involved in today that you cannot. It was terrible. So our leadership was not of the caliber that the moment called for. We were way below the quality of what was going on in the world and in Cuba and the leadership in Cuba, what they were doing. I mean, they were doing terrible things among other things. But I would not blame them as much as I blame the people of Cuba for allowing it to happen. Because everybody now is free-handed and I have no guilt. No, we're all guilty of this massacre or whatever you want to call it. All of us. Yeah.
So you went to prison? You were captured and went to prison in Cuba?
I was captured. I can't say that I was captured. They were trying to get away from the field of operations through one of the big cities there, Cienfuegos, in the south coast. But we never even got near it. That morning they came heavy on us. I still remember the raised of fire. You know, raised of fire is to make sure that it's clear around, so they shoot with a certain cadence or repeated ta, 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 all night long. Ta, 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 with the fouls. And so in the morning, I tell you, I'm not the type that will break down real quick. I can be next to the fire and I know that it burns and I will try to stay out of the fire, but I'm not going to freak out and go crazy. So one of our guys really lost his mind. I started screaming. Ah! So they came immediately. They made him prisoner. I was lying prone on the ground with a 45 in my hand that I hadn't even had it on the ready. Nothing like that. I see no reason to kill anybody. Believe me, I could not find a single reason to murder anyone. In my mind, it would be murder. I don't know if maybe you feel it's your team or against the other team. If that's all right with me, that you want to play that game. But I'm not into that at all. So I think I have a higher purpose, all right? At least I try to make sure that I have a higher purpose in all this. And so they came at me, they kicked my arm, and then so I said, hey, wait, be careful. I mean, they didn't know how to handle the gun. I said, hey, listen. I took the thing, I gave it back to the guy. It was like magic. I couldn't believe it. They were so nervous. They were young kids, very nervous. And I said, well, luckily they didn't shoot us. So that's how I was made prisoner. Then came the different places where we were staying at the sports arena, which was new to me. I hadn't visited that. It was quite a nice place for the sports, and we did a little running around at times. They gave us permission to. So we were competing, the younger guys were already competing with the group of militia guys that thought that they were the best. So we thought we parachuters were the best. And it was all these little things going on until the press came along, and that was the day that a shot was fired in the back of the palace. And we had Fidel Castro in front of us with members of the Cuban press, and there were some international as well. We were sitting right in front of them, and this guy had just finished telling me, it's a good thing that we lost, because otherwise I will personally put a bullet through your head. And it goes, boom! And I said, and what are you going to do with the rest of all this? Because most of the people went under the whatever they had in front of them to hide from because they thought it was the beginning of something worse. It was a matter of how good are your nerves to put up with shit. You know, really, that's the limit of what you can put up with. No, because I had a problem with the security ones.
Very good.
They came at me to ask me a few questions so that I would be allowed to be in this office in Wall Street, because he was in Wall Street in New York. So the guy says to me, oh, so you were born in Cuba? And I said, yes, I was born in Cuba. And he says, oh, once you're a Cuban, you're always a Cuban. You're like, yeah, once you're a Texan, you're always a Texan. That was on my citizenship papers, if I remember. That one was on my citizenship papers. I took a member as a witness. I took an ex-member of the Communist Party who happened to be a friend of mine because our interest in music. Yeah, he was something else, this guy. He was pro Fidel Castro like together. And I would look at him and say, what the hell, a guy like you are a musician. How could you possibly have leaders? How would you believe this bullshit?
and he would get angry at me, blah, blah. Time went by. Because maybe he was doing it as an act to travel to Cuba. Because he had family there, he traveled twice. And being that he was around, he never entered the university, but he used to hang around with that crowd of delinquents that was forming there. Which they were all delinquents, criminals. I knew these guys. Okay, they were revolutionaries, they were whatever you want to tell me. They went to church and went like this. But they were a bunch of hoodlums. That's what they were, you know. They took advantage of people in groups. They would come at you in groups. But on one-on-one, forget about it. Not a chance, you know. And so he got fed up when he must have been 90, close to 90 years old. He says, I'm not going more to Cuba. I'm fed up with this. This thing with Fidel Castro is up to here. I can't take it no more. I said, my God, you really have some balls, man. You really, such a long time. Now you're a free man. Now you should compose music. And now you're free. But that's the way it goes, you know. I think this is the end of big leaders in the world. All of this that is going on, people will no longer put their marbles on one person doing something. The 8 years presidency is we understand that in 4 years you cannot get married, whatever. You cannot please a certain. We already know that. So up to now, it's got to be 8 years. If somebody can prove it that you can do it in 2 years or in 6 months or maybe in 3 weeks, that should be the next president of the United States, I think, you know. But he has to prove that he can do it. He has to have a resume that shows that he can really take care of things and get it done. It's not just because my cousin or your cousin or you're Irish and I'm Cuban or bullshit like that. If we stay in that plane, we're no better than all those tribes that are killing each other right now. It's just that we're more educated. That's all. That's why we're not going at each other's throats, because we're more educated. Let's put it that way. And better fed. Also, you know, we have all these fantastic places where you can buy whatever you want. If not, they send it to you in the mail.
That good coffee.
Yeah, no sugar.
No sugar.
No sugar.
All right.